What's good, y'all? It's your guy Bendu. So I wanted to cover this video that I saw on Twitter from a Chinese government official, and I found it interesting because it's kind of like that viral video with the Azerbaijan president that went viral, and I'm going to play that one too because I want to talk about that too. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and get into this China one first because again I found it very interesting. So let's go ahead and watch. So yeah. She types out, if the U.S. truly defends freedom, why won't they allow others to tell the truth when they are making up lies? Why has Mr. Assange been thrown in prison after being forced to shelter in the Ecuadorian embassy in London for 7 years? And that's a very good point. And here's what she had to say.
Some in
the US smear and attack China under the pretext of freedom of the press. This in itself is an insult to the real freedom of the press. If they really believe in freedom, why do they allow themselves to mislead others and not allow others to tell the truth? Why did Julian Assange have to spend 7 years at Ecuador embassy? Why was he sent to prison? Why can't the US respect and accept coexistence of other civilizations and systems? Why does it suppress people who have different views? Why does it deprive other countries of their rights and freedom for normal development?
And that's everything she said there is true. And regardless of whether the the allegations against China are true or not, which I fall on the side of they're, for the most part, not. I do think China is authoritarian. I'm not for any form of censorship and shit like that. So I do like to say that. But most of the shit we hear about China is not true. Like especially the Uyghur genocide shit, and most of it is not true at all. But getting back to this, and I like to preface it by saying that I know a lot of people don't like to do that when they defend China, but you got to be real with certain situations. So that's just what I'm doing. But every point there she said was correct. Every single point there she said was correct. I wanted to make sure y'all can see me. Every single point she said there was correct. There was no cap there. And it's like, the United States, like, and not even just the United States, but as Western actors as well, like the UK and all these other countries that act on behalf of the United States, like the European countries and everything, like they all do the same shit. Like when Edward Snowden was seeking asylum, Joe Biden himself personally threatened other European countries, basically saying if they take this guy in, they're going to levy sanctions against him, all this. But the point that got me more was about suppressing countries' freedoms to do things differently, because they do that. And we the perfect example of that is Latin America. They destroyed Latin America all post World War II, all the way going to the 80s, and even still now, to the point where it's like, if you want to run your country independent of the United States under socialism, for example, you're probably going to get overthrown the next day. Or they're going to be trying to overthrow you if they can't, like they're doing to Venezuela right now. So, and it's also like what they're doing to Myanmar right now. Like, I see a couple people, YouTubers and everything talking about Myanmar, and they're talking about it through this lens, and people are conservative, but they're talking about it through the lens of trying to find a way, an edge on Biden and everything, as another point of critique about Biden, when this is the war machine, baby. It's not just Joe Biden. I promise you, if Donald Trump was in office right now, he would be doing the same shit in Myanmar. But the United States is stoking, the United States plans to turn Myanmar into Libya to stop China's Belt and Road Initiative. And that's just what it is. They're trying to turn it into a failed state to make it a pariah against the Belt and Road Initiative, because it's one of the countries that's going to be, I don't know if they said it integral, but one of the biggest trading partners when it comes to the Belt and Road Initiative. So, but I just find it, I find it interesting that, nobody ever talks about how the United States has destroyed countries. Only people like us, Venezuela, Iran. You could just go down a list of all the Latin American countries they destroyed. Syria, they tried to overthrow Syria in the 50s, so it's just it's crazy. And then America has the audacity to talk about, you know, freedom, blah blah blah, and all this shit. And then journalists as well. Like we saw what they did to Reality Winner. We saw what they did to Chelsea Manning. We saw what they're doing and still doing to Julian Assange that they can stop. You know, they got Julian Assange rotting in a prison for revealing George Bush era war crimes. So him being in prison and this bullshit trial and all this shit has nothing to do with the DNC hacks. Absolutely nothing to do. And Democrats keep saying that shit, but it's not true. So yeah, man, it's crazy. So here, this clip now that I'm going to be playing now, and I'm going to splice it in because I don't want to necessarily react to it, but in person, but I'm going to splice it in. So here, check this out. This is the Azerbaijan president, by the way, too. And here's his reaction to a question about press freedoms.
They have the full range of human rights which people here in Azerbaijan do not have. Will they have a fully free media? Will they have an opposition that's allowed to raise its voice? Will they be allowed to have things that people here in Azerbaijan do not have?
You think they do not have it? Why do you think that people in Azerbaijan do not have free media and opposition?
Because this is what I'm told by independent sources in this country.
Which independent sources?
Many independent sources.
Tell me which.
I certainly couldn't name sources.
Oh, if you couldn't name, that means that you're just inventing the story.
So you're saying the media is not under state control?
Not at all.
And there is a vibrant, free opposition media? Where do I see this?
You can see it in the internet. You can see it everywhere.
But not in newspapers?
Why? You can see it in newspapers. Whom do you call opposition here? Can I ask you?
Well, is there allowed to be an opposition?
Yeah, it is allowed, of course.
I mean, NGOs are the subject of a crackdown. Journalists are the subject of a crackdown.
Not at all.
Critics are in jail.
No, not at all.
None of this is true.
Absolutely fake. Absolutely. We have free media. We have free internet. Now, due to the martial law, we have some restrictions. But before, there have been no restrictions. And the number of internet users in Azerbaijan is more than 80%. Can you imagine the restriction of media in a country where internet is free, there is no censorship, and there are 80% of internet users? We have millions of people on Facebook. How can you say that we don't have free media? This is, again, a biased approach. This is an attempt to create a perception in Western audience about Azerbaijan. We have opposition, we have NGOs, we have free political activity, we have free media, we have freedom of speech. But if you raise this question, can I ask you also one? How do you assess what happened to Mr. Assange? Is it a reflection of free media in your country?
We're not here to discuss
no,
my
let's
country.
Discuss.
No.
Let's discuss.
No, President
In order
Aliyev.
to accuse me, saying that Armenians will not have free media here, let's talk about Assange. How many years he spent in Ecuadorian embassy? And for what? And where is he now? For journalistic activity. You kept that person hostage, actually killing him morally and physically. You did it, not us, and now he's in prison. So you have no moral right to talk about free media when you do these things.
Returning to the conflict, how
yeah,
long...
better return to the conflict, because this is not what you like. You like only to accuse, only to attack. But look at the mirror. Look, I tell many times, before coming and lecturing us, and in your question, accusing me, it's not a question, it's accusation. You talk like a prosecutor. Why? If you're so democratic and so objective, why you keep Assange in prison? For what? You keep him in prison because of his journalistic activity.
I'm not keeping him in prison, President Aliyev. But
you don't like this.
It's not a question of don't like.
You are
it's
not used to this.
It's not the
because
subject
you are
of our
used
interview.
Only to attack.
It's not the subject of our interview. And with respect,
No,
President
it is not
Aliyev,
the subject of interview, but you raise it.
You raised it.
So yeah, as you saw there, I just find that very interesting. So, you know, the president of Azerbaijan, you know, he's like, for all intents and purposes, basically a fucking dictator. Like, I'm not sitting here trying to defend the country of Azerbaijan. What I'm trying to say is, you know, when the Western countries do what they do to journalists like Julian Assange, as he mentioned there, it leaves you wide open to criticism. You cannot be sitting here. It's literally the pot calling the kettle black. There's no other perfect example than that, you know, and it's like, it's just it's crazy that, you know, the Western media doesn't see that. And honestly, I think it's more so because, you know, when it comes to a lot of these things, like, you know, like persecution of journalists, like what they're doing to Julian Assange and everything, they put this black cloud around it. So what they did was they ran a propaganda about Julian, about him basically being a Russian and all this bullshit, and oh, he got the leaks against the DNC, he got it from Russians and everything. So he puts this black cloud around. They put this black cloud around him and basically made him persona non grata amongst journalists. He was already that, within the United States, but they made him that amongst journalists. And it's like now these, and obviously got to add into the fact of most of these journalism outlets, aside from the truly independent ones, like they're all corrupted by the people they're supposed to be fucking investigating. So, but just to stick to what the president of Azerbaijan was saying there, it's like, bro, like y'all, like you cannot, how are you going to go to another country and lecture them about journalistic freedoms when you guys don't practice, what you're doing? It's literally like do as I say, not as I do. And it's like, nah, B, that's not how the world works. And it's like, I'm not sitting here advocating for Azerbaijan to, continue acting like the United States and everything. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the United States, if we're going to sit here and talk about we're this beacon of freedom, and shit like that, then it needs to be that, the fact that we have in this country, people forget Gary Webb was killed for revealing that the United States government was funneling drugs into the black community, crack cocaine from the fucking South American countries they already destroyed. They were bringing the drugs in from there and funneling it into the black community, specifically to basically like and to destroy those communities, basically. So, and he mysteriously like committed suicide by shooting himself in the head twice. Yeah, some journalistic freedom. Or what they do to journalists now, they just straight up they just straight up smeared him to the point where it's like, okay, this journalist, he spreads conspiracy theories. Ooh, kind of like what they did to Jimmy Dore when he was talking about Syria. So they do to Aaron Matei and the Gray Zone. I literally I saw this post somebody put on Twitter where Intercept journalist was calling Max Blumenthal a genocide denier. Yeah, a genocide denier for pointing out and calling out the bullshit United States talking points about China committing genocide against the Uyghurs. And it's kind of ironic about them talking about China or China committing genocide against Muslims and oppressing Muslims while we're supporting Israel with everything going on with Israel now. Like, I know y'all saw the clip of, like, I think it was Biden's spokesperson and everything. And I'm probably going to do a video about that posted Friday. But it's insane, man. It's insane. So yeah. So China calling this out. It's about time. When they had that meeting with Secretary Blinken, they fucking they called them out on it again with Black Lives Matter. Like, how can you guys talk about repression of rights when, like, yo, do y'all not see the Black Lives Matter movement happening in your country? Like, and it's like, yo, the United States wants to pretend like it's this perfect, this perfect society. Well, actually, no, I won't say that, because one of the things you'll hear American exceptionalism say, like, oh, America's not perfect, but it's better than that country. It's like, okay, whatever, man. Like, some of the, like, most of the European countries are better than the United States in terms of quality of life, in terms of being able to climb the wage ladder. You feel me? Like, there's no upward mobility in the United States anymore when it comes to, wages and earning money in this country. Like, we've had stagnated wages since the fucking 70s. Like, bro, like, fucking over 60% of the country, over 60% of the country is living paycheck to paycheck. It's insane. It's insane, man. It's insane. So, but I'm going to go ahead and close the video out there, guys. As always, thank you for tuning in. If you are on YouTube, subscribe, share, comment, like, all that, because you already know the YouTube CEO out here doing channels like mine dirty. So, show love. If you're on Odyssey, do the same thing. Odyssey don't be doing that bullshit. So, and I want to tell you guys, I'm trying to get on Rockfin. Having some technical difficulties doing that. It's been a couple of y'all that's been talking me through it. I appreciate y'all. So I'm definitely about to be trying to get on Rockfin, because, like, especially with the app now, dog, the app is fire. I don't know if y'all been on the Rockfin Android app, because I got an Android. I don't fuck with Apple like that. So, but I'm really digging the app, man. So, but yeah. So thanks for tuning in. Peace.
Bye.